Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Check This Out. On this episode, we're going to be checking out beef ribs. And we're going to be cooking them in the sous vide. Now, I wasn't really planning on doing much content for sous vide because there are some excellent stations out there. And if I may recommend one, I would say Guga at Guga Foods is definitely the definitive channel on doing sous vide cooking. Today we've got these beef ribs here, and boy, if you're used to normal beef short ribs, which may be, 4 pieces cut down through this way, these ones are fantastic. These ones here are from a place in Ohio, Preston, Ohio, called Whitefeather Meats. Whitefeather Meats is probably one of the best butchering operations I've ever seen. They do everything from hoof to table. And everything is impeccably clean in their place. Even their showroom, everything is nice, organized. They sell the Traeger grill, they sell the big green egg. Everything that they sell is of the highest quality. And that is no exception to their meat. This was almost 7 pounds of beef ribs. And we'll take a look at the marbling and stuff on it and how these are about 2.5, almost 3 inches thick. They should make a fantastic rib. These ones here, I was going to do like a Korean short rib, but I didn't really have all the ingredients that I wanted for it, so I'm going to kind of do a barbecue beef rib with my own take on it. Basically just using what I have. So let's get started here. Let's get this opened up. I'm going to wash it off a little bit, pat it dry, see if it needs any trimming, and we will get over to the sous vide, put it in. This cook is going to take about 48 hours at 160 degrees. It's not quite up to that yet, but as soon as it is, we're going to put them in, and I guarantee that these long bones throughout the back of here, like we got pretty much the entire side of the cow here, they're going to be so tender they're just going to slide out of there. If you're not used to sous vide cooking, have never seen it before, definitely with expensive cuts of meat, this is the way to go. I got tired of cooking bi-level methods and sometimes, most of the time, coming out okay, the temperature I wanted, but with sous vide, you'll get the perfect temperature from top to bottom every time. If you want a medium rare steak at say 131 degrees, you put it in there at 131 degrees, that steak is 131 degrees from top to bottom. Now when it comes out of the sous vide, it doesn't really look that great, but you put a nice sear on each side, it is the best tasting steak that you will ever have. And you will never ever make a mistake. Even if you leave it in too long, you can't overcook it. Well, I suppose you could, but it would take a long time. So let's get this opened up, get to it, and see what we've got here. Okay, here we go. Here we have our beautiful beef ribs. Let's get these opened up and see what they look like. I may have forgot to mention that I will put a link to Whitefeather Meats down in the description also. Because if you're anywhere in Ohio, I would strongly suggest that you check these guys out. These were not too bad of a price, but the quality of them, all of their beef is aged, I think, something like 21, 23 days. And then they have dry aged beef on top of that. They have elk, they have bison. Of course, there's chicken, pork, you want pork ribs, whatever they happen to have. It's just about everything. All right, these look pretty darn good. There's not a tremendous amount of extra fat. They're pretty well trimmed. So there's not going to be a lot to render out there. That's one thing, you get value for money there. Sometimes they're a little bit more expensive than your superstore, but this is an independent operation. They have never had a contamination issue there. They take pride in running a clean operation. And you know what you're getting when you buy something off of them. You know it's going to be safe, it's going to be wholesome, it's going to be delicious, because they pick the best. All right, what I would like to do with these now, I could put the whole thing in the sous vide like this. I'm pretty sure I have a bag big enough to hold it. But what I would like to do, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 ribs here. So I think I'm going to take it down into 3 rib sections. I don't have a bone saw, so I can't really go across this way. So let's see if we can get down through here and take a look. Let's take a look at the marbling inside this beef. There, take a look at that. Beautifully marbled. A lot of times you don't get that in ribs. Yes, you get the fat cap on it and stuff, but this beautiful intermuscular fat, this is absolutely a quality piece of meat. And this whole thing, which I'll be able to cook up, freeze some of it for later meals, costs probably less than you pay for a steak at many steak places. All right, let's cut the next one out of there and take a look at it. All right, that one there, it looks like we got 1 bone left, and it looks pretty good size, so I really don't want to trim on either side. This one here is just going to be monster rib. We're going to take a look at what I'm going to use for a marinade in this. We're not going to have to marinate it in the refrigerator ahead of time, because like I said, this is going to be cooking for 48 hours in the sous vide, so it's going to marinate itself over that length of time. So for the hot part and a little bit of sweet, we're going to use the Sriracha. I love Sriracha. Frank's Red Hot's good, Texas Pete's, but for Asian cooking, this has a little bit of sugar in it, and it's not so hot that it really blows your head off. I'm going to put just a little bit on here. My wife doesn't like stuff too bloody hot, so let's take it and just brush some in. I like it hotter than that. Maybe she won't want any of these. That's looking like barbecue already. All right, turn it over, each one. And now let's see if we can get it to stand up there. And we'll give it a little bit on top. That should bring a little bit of heat to the party. In my teriyaki sauce, I have a little bit of sriracha in that too, so we should be pretty good with just the amount that I'm putting on here. There we go. And one more side. Give the Smurf gloves a little bit of a wipe here. And put some more on. It's only been a few minutes and it's starting to look pretty darn good. All right, now what I'm going to do is take my favorite barbecue sauce. A lot of times I make my own barbecue sauce, but I was not really planning on doing sous vide tonight. But I wanted this done by Friday night. Today's Wednesday. It's going to be Friday evening, and I get to enjoy some ribs when I get off work. That looks pretty good. Turn them over. Do the next side. Brush it in. I almost wish it was done now, because this smells really good. Is it Friday yet? And one more side. All right, there we go. That looks pretty darn good. Now next what we're going to add is some salt and pepper, because I forgot about that. So let's put that on now. We want that on pretty heavy because these are a big piece of meat, and we really want it to soak down in there over the 48 hours. So we're going to season it pretty darn heavy. Always season all 4 sides. Let's get a nice layer of salt on this side. For a piece of meat this big, always put on more than you think you're going to need. That's one of the mistakes that people make a lot of times when they're seasoning big pieces of meat. Over that cook time, this salt has to penetrate all the way down into that meat, and you definitely want a decent layer across there because you want it to get in there as far as possible and season the whole meat, not just on the top. All right, that looks pretty good. I'll be back with you in just a second when we get ready to put it into the bag. Then we'll vacuum seal it and put it in the sous vide. Okay, let's get these guys in this vacuum bag. I think this 1 gallon bag will hold them just fine. So this is going to be a mess. Put that end up. All right, put that in on side. And now the big boy. All right, here now what I have is some homemade teriyaki sauce. It's kind of a sweet teriyaki. I usually give exact amounts of whatever I'm using, but as you saw with the sriracha and the Sweet Baby Ray's, you pretty much just paste it on there. This stuff here is homemade, but I'm sure that in the Asian food section of your store, you should be able to pick up like a sweet teriyaki glaze or something like that that you can substitute for this. So this is a 8-ounce jar. I'm probably just going to go ahead and pour the whole thing in there, and it'll work its way in through the meat over that cooking time. So let's set it up here. And I think I'm going to go with most of it, but not all of it. I really want to try to keep the liquid down in the bag when I go to vacuum seal it. All right, off to the sous vide machine. Okay, let's put it in the water bath. And will it fit? It's kind of in. I may work on that a little bit more to try to get it in there a little bit better, but it's in for right now. I'd like to get it down in the water a little bit more because it's sticking up here at the back a bit. I measured the length for it, which is perfect for these ribs, but I forgot the old Anova sous vide machine. Takes up a little bit of space in there of his own, and we got to have him in there, don't we? So anyhow, I'm going to get this fixed up a little bit, and in about 48 hours we'll come back and see what we have. Well, it's been 48 hours for me, but only a couple seconds for you, thanks to the miracle of editing. You may notice back here that the sous vide cooker got a little bit bigger. Yeah. I tried to fit these Flintstone ribs into my other regular cooker, and that didn't work out so well, so I had to change it up. They're ready to go. They look fantastic. So let's take a closer look, and more importantly, let's take a taste. There they are. Put a couple of the bones out there just so we could kind of get a little bit of scale as to just how big these ribs are. The Bearded Butchers in Creston, Ohio do a fantastic job. If you're in Ohio or even passing through Ohio, give them a try. I'll put a link to them in the description down below. Also, I'd like to give props to Guga, who does the Sous Vide Everything channel. His stuff is fantastic. I usually don't do too much sous vide content because he's a master of it. I'll put a link to his channel down below also. And now it's time to give these a try. Okay, here we go. Let's try to get a little piece off there. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about right there. Tender, juicy, and as you can see, definitely fall off the bone. I tried to display them with the bone still attached, but that wasn't going to happen. As soon as I touched them, they slid right out. Well, even though this is a simple recipe and it uses mostly store-bought items like Sweet Baby Ray's and like a sweet teriyaki sauce, a dipping sauce of some type, they're still worth trying because the star of the show is the meat. So thanks very much once again for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time on Check This Out.